Kiss.
When you think of the word dynasty, you think of unbeatable, you think of teams that struck fear in the hearts of their competition, like the incomparable Boston Celtics dynasty who won 11 championships in 13 years. Or how about the ice cold dynasty in the 2000s with Black Mama and Shaquille O'Neal? Perhaps the word dynasty includes the GOAT in himself and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, who had not one but two three-peats. Or how about the Boston Celtics second dynasty with the great Larry Bird and crew who won 3 championships, battling through the tough Eastern Conference in the 1980s? And don't forget about the Showtime Lakers who donned the purple and gold and feature Hall of Famers such as Magic Johnson and James Worthy and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who won 5 championships from 1980 to 1990. Then, the new and more modern dynasties like the San Antonio Spurs, who have 5 championships but never won back-to-back titles, or the Miami Heat and LeBron James, the Wade Wade and Chris Bosh, who were very extremely fun to watch but still felt short of some expectations. Then, which leads us to the current dynasty we have all witnessed in the Golden State Warriors, a team that's gone to 5 consecutive finals, a team that has all the awards, has all the rings, has all the accolades, and arguably the best team in history for a purely talent perspective. Some people love them, other people may hate them, but you can't deny the fact that they are a dynasty. But what comes into question is how great is the Warriors dynasty? They won their first championship in 2015 when they beat a Cleveland Cavaliers team without Kevin Love, without Kyrie Irving. In 2016, historical 73-19, almost lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder before coming back after being down 3-1 to just blow their own 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals, which is the first time in history that a team that was down 3-1 came back from that deficit in the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then we know what happens. They go out, they sign Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant joins the Warriors, weakens the entire NBA, and practically makes them unbeatable, but still semi-human. In 2017 NBA Finals, they swept the Portland Trail Blazers, they swept the Utah Jazz, they swept the San Antonio Spurs after being down big in the first half, and then Kawhi Leonard got hurt. Still, the Warriors most likely would have won that series in no less than 6 games, and they were going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. But if you actually watch that series with the Golden State Warriors facing the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you did not just look at the numbers or the box score or the advanced stats and actually did the eye test, you can see a lot of those games were a lot closer than they may have appeared. But fast forward to the 2018 postseason where they beat the Spurs 4-1, beat the Pelicans 4-1, and then they beat the Houston Rockets, which was like watching the NBA Finals. Everyone knows about the Chris Paul injury, plus the historically bad shooting in Game 7. The Golden State Warriors probably would have lost that series if the Rockets would have just hit their shots or if CP3 didn't get hurt. And that was the last time we really saw CP3 still somewhat in his prime, because the following season, when they will go on and to face the Golden State Warriors, even after losing Kevin Durant to a calf injury, Chris Paul could not get any separation, and Chris Paul kind of looked like a shell of himself. The Golden State Warriors would end up beating the Houston Rockets after beating a feisty Clippers team the series before, just to face the Portland Trail Blazers and eventually sweeping them, who was just happy to make it to the Western Conference Finals. And finally, the 2019 NBA Finals arrived, and the Golden State Warriors weren't just facing a team, they were facing the entire country of Canada while being trash talked by the biggest hip-hop star in the world and the one and only Drake, and trying to deal with the new king of the North in Kawhi Leonard, who showed the entire world that he may be possibly the best player in the NBA. The Warriors ended up going down 3-1 before pressuring KD to come back, who eventually did, but ended up hurting himself even more by tearing his Achilles in Game 5. Then in a crazy Game 6 and very competitive Game 6, Klay Thompson tears his ACL, but still the Golden State Warriors had their chance, and it ended up coming down to Stephen Curry trying to hit the game-winning shot, but unfortunately the Golden State Warriors could not capitalize. Now, even without Kevin Durant, and before the Klay Thompson injury, the Golden State Warriors had a better roster than 90% of NBA teams. A team like the Golden State Warriors struggled compared to many other dynasties who didn't have that type of talent at all. A team with 4 All-Stars having to be made up of 2 of the best three-point shooters of all time, one which is an MVP and the best shooter ever, one of the best scorers who ever lived, who's also a MVP in himself and also a top 10 player of all time, to go along with a Defensive Player of the Year, point forward, and Draymond Green. And that's not even me including Andre Iguodala, who holds a Finals MVP to his name as well. The words that come to my mind when it comes to dynasty and referencing the Golden State Warriors is the struggle dynasty. Compared to other great dynasties before them, the run isn't as impressive in my opinion. The Golden State Warriors beat teams in the NBA Finals without playing against the best players on opposing teams, or their team was extremely overmatched up against their competition. When the playing field was leveled, they couldn't succeed. On paper, the Golden State Warriors may have the greatest talent collectively in NBA history, but it's quite possible that they are the most overrated NBA dynasty of all time.